I don't have it's difficult if you ask me specific issues that I had not come prepared for that. I'd come to talk about skills at BBC. Those questions you need to ask them to NSFAS, unless if you had told me beforehand so that I get the information I'm able to answer you. All I can say is that NSFAS continue to pay this year for more than 1 million students. There are glitches sometimes that happen because information is not exchanged quick enough between institutions and NSFAS, and therefore some delays in payments. Or sometimes it's students who do not qualify, and all those things, they've got mechanisms to be dealt with. I wouldn't know what is happening in the Free State in a particular institution. All that I know is that NSFAS continues to pay on a monthly basis the stipend for the students, and they also then pay at the beginning of the year the registration fees and tuition fees for the students who qualify for NSFAS, and they also get given money for food and in some instances for transportation. Yes, there are challenges that come up now and again, as I have told you, for the reason, but I don't know the specific case that we are talking about, unfortunately.
Firstly, it is important that you understand broad-based black economic empowerment in its broadest definition. It is about equity and ownership in enterprises. It is equally about employment equity both in the public and private sectors. It is also about enterprise and supply development. It's about social development, and it's about access to the resources that will enable enterprises to survive. Now, when we look at that broader scorecard, we can say how many black entrepreneurs have been created in South Africa since 1994, whether these are in terms of the equity transactions that have taken place, the BE transactions as they would be called, how many black entrepreneurs have been given opportunity to participate in the economy at different levels of the economy. And I suspect that if you do that and you look at the numbers, to suggest that it has been a complete failure would be completely disingenuous, because you're actually saying that those black entrepreneurs don't exist, they don't own the shares, they don't own the mines. Whereas in fact, right here at the BBC event, you have black enterprises that have flourished under the BEE Act. But also look at employment equity, the number of black executives, black senior managers in the private sector, in the public sector, that have grown in terms of participating at that level. And we've seen a huge and phenomenal growth of that. We are worried that recently that has slacked down, but the reality is that we've seen that improvement. We can acknowledge that through triple BEE legislation, we can demonstrate black senior executives both in the public and the private sector that have grown. But we're also talking about enterprise and supply development. And people don't always relate to enterprise and supply development, which is the reality that the Act enables and facilitates access for black entrepreneurs into the supply chains of the public sector, of the private sector. So when you look at a white company that says I have a triple BEE rating, part of what you're calculating is what they contribute towards enterprise and supply development. How do they procure from black enterprises? How do they ensure participation across the value chain? And that's part of what the legislation is about. And it's also about skills development, developing the appropriate skills in particular sectors to grow the economy. So I think we need to have a comprehensive view about what black economic empowerment has done and what it has enabled in this country. But we have also said as the ANC, through our Economic Transformation Committee, we think it is time that we critically look at the architecture of transformation legislation in the country and determine as to whether it requires for comprehensive review. We will be going through a process of comprehensive review of the architecture of transformation legislation, policies and implementation instruments, including fiscal instruments, tax incentives towards black enterprises, towards small enterprises. These are things that we are currently actively looking at as the Economic Transformation Committee of the ANC in terms of the review of the current architecture of transformation and empowerment in the country.
And just finally, when we if we are to reflect on the next 20 years, I think the next step would be saying, okay, we've gotten these black businesses and top executives in the economy. How fast are we moving in terms of getting those businesses to be black industrialized businesses that can be sustainable for generations to come?
And that's a critical focus of the next wave of empowerment. We've seen the first wave of empowerment. We can celebrate the first wave of empowerment, but we now need to create an architecture that creates continuous waves of empowerment where people continuously participate, grow, and you create a new cream of black entrepreneurs that are able to develop, but not only in terms of gaining equity and shares in existing companies. We need to build a broader cadre of black entrepreneurs that are able to contribute towards creating new enterprises, taking advantage of new opportunities, because it is important for the country. You know, we always say in the ANC, transformation and the empowerment of black people is not an act of charity. It is a responsibility of redress of historic injustices of this country. But it is equally in the interest of the country itself and its economy, because we have a broader base of entrepreneurs that will help grow this economy. So we have to focus on creating black industrialists and ensuring that they are able to take advantage of the new opportunities that emerge. It can't be that new opportunities are emerging and black entrepreneurs still get a 10% or a 30% stake. It must be that in this new wave, they are at the forefront of these industries and enterprises.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you. All right, sorry.
I mean, you couldn't say that your target is to have 33%, for example, of the sector, financial sector or the agricultural sector being black-owned. You're saying, 60% or 70% of it should remain. That can't be a target. You can see already black people in this country represent over 80% of the population. You cannot say your target is 35%. What must happen to the 65%? That's why it's actually embarrassing that we wake up in the morning and say 35% of the sector, that's our target in sector X for black ownership. And I think that in that sense, and those targets are still not achieved, because it's impossible for the oppressor to give you the means for you to overcome them. White people don't want to lose the position of privilege, the position of being a special race, because by demographics they won't be special. But we don't want a situation of special anybody. We want equality. We don't want a situation where only the few, whether they are black or white. We want a situation where there is real equality, there is real inclusion of every living soul that lives in South Africa. Bringing them closer to the means of production, the capacity to live off the economic activities in our country. And therefore, that's why I'm saying that that particular approach may not work, to monitor the deals that white people are making, the deals with blacks. They will choose weak blacks, they will choose blacks that will be selfish, they will choose blacks that won't interrupt their position of privilege. So you need a different approach, and that approach, in our view, has to do with breaking new grounds through a state bank that is going to invest in black people, in small businesses, in our infant industries, even to the extent of us protecting them from competition until they're strong enough to compete.
All right, so I mean, I had a wonderful tenure at UCT. I'm glad about the opportunity, and time to leave came. After I got the vote, the Senate vote for a second term. And here's the thing, I know that there are many questions about how I am, how I left. I don't want to get into the detail of how I left. I think I want to say why I left. My departure from UCT was a choice for me. It was choosing me. Sometimes you have to choose yourself, because things are so tricky that you can see that the detractors are determined that whatever you do, they're going to get their way. They can't get you on competence because you are competent. So I was never accused of incompetence. I was never accused of wasting money or even stealing money, never accused of corruption of any kind, never accused of laziness or anything, actually never charged at all. You know, my interpretation is that my personality was a problem. And I do understand that many people find my personality challenging because I'm not a conformist, I'm not an assimilationist. I'm a hard worker, I deliver, I do the work that needs to be done. And some people don't like it. And so my social media pages became of interest, even though I avoided going to the beach because, I mean, that would cause even much more dramas. Anything that I did, you know, created a problem. So unfortunately that has to happen. What's my interpretation now? I mean, I want people to know that living and leading authentically is important. That's how I choose to do my leading authentically. And sometimes, even after you've done a good job, the detractors are still not happy. I think if I had succeeded, it would have given, the detractors in my view were worried that it will give a message that black African, South African women can do it. And that would have been a problem for the enemy because now they say, well, she couldn't get her second term. But we've got to resist that and emphasize the fact that I was never charged, I was never accused of incompetence or corruption or stealing money. Never. I don't drink, angjola angiphuze, angitshontshe imali. Angazi ukuthi bafunani. So people must be encouraged. And here's the thing, parting shot is that, you know, sometimes God wants you to go to bigger things. And God realizes that you've become comfortable with an uncomfortable situation. You know, I had become comfortable with a very problematic situation. I had become comfortable with it. I was forever managing, and I was forever saying, you know, I'm gonna manage this, and I would get it, and I would get it. And that's being comfortable with a situation that I wasn't supposed to be comfortable with. So perhaps God wanted me out. I'm happy, I'm free, I'm doing what I want to do now until the end of the year. I've got approaches and I choose what I want to do, which is great.
In closure, your Nedbank partnership.
Yes, of course, you know I started a podcast, FEB Academic Unfiltered, and so my partnership with Nedbank is about young people and finance. It's about financial literacy, particularly focusing on young people and women. But of course, anyone can benefit from it. Money is very important in our lives, and education is my passion. And I worry about black people who are working and are not having skills to manage their money, to know how they relate with money. And so in the episodes that I'll be having with Nedbank, we're focusing on money. What's your relationship with money? Why is that important? But why is it important also that you manage it well? How do you develop a credit rating? Even if you don't have a big job or a big salary, how do you develop that? And how do you check that it's growing or it's getting better? So I'm excited about this, and I hope everyone will join. We are also going to have competitions and people will win big prizes. I mean, it's a bank, so join FEB Academic Unfiltered so that you can learn and grow.
Business are allowed to take part in all activities of business. In my sector, in mining and in energy. That's why you'll find that now on the new renewable energy, there are companies that are wholly owned by South Africans and there are companies that are black owned. And in mining, you are having major mining companies that are owned by black people. So there's a growing presence of black business in the space of business, and we're encouraging that. And what we are trying to emphasize to every time we talk to them, black business is not a charity. Black business must put the skin on the fire to build their business, build their wealth, and then enjoy it.
Central TV.